If you're over 65, there's a good chance you paid a bill last month that the government already said you don't have to pay. Your Medicare premium, your property tax, the tax on your retirement income. You paid them on time, like always. At least you think you did. Because for millions of older Americans, those bills aren't really owed. The law carved out the break years ago. The catch is that nobody mails it to you. Here are 5 of them. So how does that happen? How do millions of people who work their whole lives, who paid into these systems for 40 or 50 years, end up handing over money that Congress and their own state already set aside for them to keep? The answer is simpler and honestly more annoying than you'd expect. Almost every one of these breaks works the same way. The savings are real, the programs are sitting there, fully paid for, but the rules are written so that the money only reaches you if you ask for it first. No one at the county office calls you. No one at Social Security knocks on the door. If you don't raise your hand, you keep paying year after year for something you were never supposed to owe. The National Council on Aging put a number on it. They estimate that 9.1 million Americans over the age of 65 are able to get help they have never asked for, and that older adults leave $58 billion on the table every single year, not because they don't qualify, because no one ever told them they did. And it isn't only that people don't know about them. The same researchers found that many older adults who do know about these programs talk themselves out of applying because they think their income is too high, or that taking the help means taking something away from someone who needs it more. Neither is usually true. Let's fix that. 5 bills, starting with the one sitting in almost every mailbox. Number 1, your property tax. If you own your home, this is probably one of the largest checks you write all year, and it tends to climb whether your income does or not. What a lot of homeowners over 65 never find out is this. Nearly every state in the country has a law on the books that lets older homeowners cut that bill, freeze it where it is, or in some cases, skip a big piece of it completely. These breaks come in 3 flavors. The first is a homestead exemption, which simply shaves a set amount off the value your taxes are based on. The second is a freeze, sometimes called a senior freeze, which locks in the value your home is taxed on so that even as prices in your neighborhood keep rising, your bill stops climbing with them. The third is a circuit breaker credit, which gives money back to people whose property tax takes too big a share of their income. And these are not small. In Texas, after voters passed Propositions 11 and 13 in November of 2025, homeowners over 65 now get a school district break worth $200,000 off their home's taxed value. In Florida, a senior who qualifies can stack a $50,000 homestead exemption on top of an extra $50,000 senior break. New York raised its biggest senior break to 65% of a home's taxed value. And New Jersey rolled out a program called Stay New Jersey that pays older homeowners who qualify up to $6,500 a year. $6,500. That's the kind of number that changes how a whole year feels when you're living on a fixed income. And a few states go further still. In Texas, for instance, homeowners over 65 can put off their property taxes completely, pushing the bill back under Section 33.06 of the state tax code until the home is sold later or passed on after they're gone. It doesn't wipe out the tax, but for someone stretched thin month to month, it can lift the pressure right now. Now, the catch, and it's the same one you're going to hear again and again today, none of this happens on its own. Turning 65 does not flip a switch. You have to file an application with your county, usually the county assessor or appraisal district, and prove your age and that the home is where you actually live. And here's how easy it is to lose. In Cook County, Illinois, the assessor's office openly says that if you were able to get the senior freeze in past years and never got it, they'll go back and pay you back. Think about what that tells you. They expect people to miss it. The version most folks believe about these programs, that they're only for people who are truly broke, isn't the full picture. The income limits are often far higher than people think, and many states don't even count half of your Social Security when they do the math. So the rule of thumb is simple. Don't talk yourself out of it. Call your county, ask what senior breaks exist, and apply. And mind the calendar, because most of these have a deadline to file, often in the spring, and once it passes, you wait a full year for another shot, which brings us to a bill that follows you even after you stop working. Number 2, the federal income tax on your retirement income. A lot of people think that once the paychecks stop, the tax bills shrink on their own. Sometimes they do. But plenty of retirees keep handing money to the IRS out of their Social Security and the money they take out of retirement without seeing that the tax rules now lean hard in their favor the moment they turn 65. What changed came in July of 2025 when a new federal tax law started and created a brand new deduction just for seniors. If you're 65 or older, you can now take an extra $6,000 off the income you're taxed on. If you're married and you're both over 65, that's $12,000 for the couple. This sits on top of the standard deduction everyone already gets and on top of the older separate senior deduction that was already in the rules, which adds another $2,000 for a single filer. Stack those together and the picture gets interesting. A single 70-year-old taking the standard deduction, the older senior add-on, and this new $6,000 deduction can shield over $23,000 of income before a dime of federal tax is owed. For a married couple, the cushion is even bigger. What this means for a lot of retirees with low incomes is that their federal income tax bill drops to zero. You'd think someone would have told you that. Most of the time, nobody does. You can take it whether you list out your write-offs or not, but it only helps if you actually claim it on your Form 1040. Two honest notes, because I'm not going to oversell this one. First, the new $6,000 deduction starts to shrink once your income climbs past $75,000 as a single filer or $150,000 as a couple, and it's gone completely well above that. Second, if your income is already low enough that you owe nothing, this won't hand you a check. It just shows what you might already think, that you don't owe federal income tax, and it can stop you from overpaying out of habit or out of worry. This deduction is set to run through the 2028 tax year, so it's worth using while it's here. And here's something handy to check today. If you're having federal tax taken out of your Social Security check just to be safe, and it turns out you don't owe, you've simply been lending the government your money for free all year. You can change or stop that with a form called the W-4V. It also helps to know one more rule. Depending on your total income, anywhere from none up to 85% of your Social Security can be taxed by the government. But for a lot of retirees, the deductions we just walked through wipe that bill out completely. The next one is smaller, but it shows up every month, and almost no one over 65 thinks to ask about it. Number 3, your phone and internet bill. Staying connected isn't a nice to have anymore. It's how you reach the doctor's office, how you talk to the grandkids, how you check your bank. And for many older Americans on a fixed income, that monthly phone and internet bill is a real strain. What most don't know is that there's a federal program built just to take a bite out of it. It's called Lifeline, and it's run by the Federal Communications Commission. If you qualify, Lifeline gives you up to $9.25 a month off your phone service, your internet service, or a bundle of the two. If you live on tribal lands, that discount goes up to $34.25 a month. It's one benefit per household, and you can apply through a phone or internet company that offers it. $9.25 a month. That's not a rounding error. Over a year, that's about $111 back in your pocket for a phone you were paying for anyway. You qualify one of two ways. Either your household income is at or below 135% of the federal poverty line, or you're already signed up for a program like Medicaid, SNAP, or supplemental security income. If you're getting any of those, you're very likely able to get Lifeline too, and the two don't cancel each other out. To put a number on the income limit, a one-person household earning roughly $21,000 a year or less usually clears it. You apply through the official system, called the National Verifier, online or through your provider, and they check once a year that you still qualify to keep the discount going. There's a reason almost no one talks about this one. A few years ago, there was a much bigger discount called the Affordable Connectivity Program that took $30 a month off internet for tens of millions of households. That program ran out of money and ended in June of 2024, and Congress has not brought it back. So Lifeline is now the one federal discount still standing. It's smaller, but it's real, and it's still yours if you qualify. Before I get to the last two, which are the big ones, do me a quick favor. If anything so far has made you think, wait, That might be me. Hit that subscribe button. I walk through one of these money and Medicare topics every week in plain English with the real numbers. It's free and it keeps this kind of information coming to you. All right? Everything we've covered so far has put a few $100s, maybe a couple thousand back in your hands. The next bill on its own is bigger than the first three put together. Up to now, every break on this list has been a few $100s. This next one is on a whole different level. Number 4, your Medicare Part B premium. If you're on Medicare, you know this one well. Part B covers your doctor visits, your outpatient care, your lab work, and the premium for it comes straight out of your Social Security check before the money ever reaches you. According to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the standard Part B premium for 2026 is $202.90 a month. Do the math across the year, and that's $2,434.80 gone before you've bought a single thing. For most people, that's just the price of being on Medicare. But there's a group of programs run quietly through your state that will pay that premium for you in full. They're called the Medicare Savings Programs, and there are a few versions with names that sound like alphabet soup. The Qualified Medicare Beneficiary Program, or QMB, the Specified Low-Income Medicare Beneficiary Program, SLMB, and the Qualifying Individual Program, QI. The details are a little different, but they share one job. If your income falls below the line, the program covers your Part B premium, and that $202.90 stops coming out of your check. And the biggest of the three, QMB, does even more. It also pays your Medicare deductibles and your coinsurance, and once you have it, a doctor or hospital is not even allowed to bill you for those Medicare-covered costs. Think about what that covers. For a senior who qualifies, that's nearly $2,435 a year just on the premium, back in the budget for groceries, for the gas bill, for the prescriptions we're about to talk about. And this is the part that catches people off guard. The very same agency that takes the premium out of your check every month is the one that will stop taking it the moment you fill out one application. The money doesn't move until you do. You apply for these programs through your state Medicaid office, not through Medicare directly, and you apply again each year to keep it. The income limits sit near the federal poverty level and change a little from state to state, and some states have raised the limits or dropped the savings test completely. The National Council on Aging estimates that only about half of the people who qualify, 49%, actually sign up. That leaves 6.6 million older adults paying a premium. They don't have to pay. Put simply, the lowest income seniors qualify for QMB, and those a step above qualify for SLMB or QI, which still cover that full premium. And there's a detail worth knowing. With the SLMB program, you can be paid back for premiums you already paid, sometimes up to 3 months in the past, even into the year before. So applying a little late doesn't always mean that money is gone. Where do you go? You contact your state's Medicaid office, sometimes called the Department of Social Services, and ask for the Medicare Savings Programs by name. Your state health insurance assistance program can also file it with you for free, and we'll come back to them at the end. And if that sounds like a lot of hoops, keep watching, because qualifying for this one quietly opens up the biggest break on the entire list. Medicare itself says it clearly. Even if you don't think you qualify, you should still apply. Some people are surprised. And anyone who gets into one of these Medicare savings programs is signed up for the program in our final spot without doing a thing, which on its own is worth more than everything else we've covered today. Number 5, your prescription drug costs. For a lot of older Americans, this is the bill that hurts the most and the one that quietly forces the worst choices. Splitting pills in half, skipping doses, deciding between the medicine and the grocery bill. If that's a choice you've ever had to make, this last one matters more than any of the others. There's a federal program called Extra Help, also known as the Low Income Subsidy. It's run by Social Security, and it exists for exactly this problem. If you qualify, Extra Help does 3 things. It wipes out your Part D drug plan premium, it wipes out the deductible, and it puts a limit on what you pay at the pharmacy counter so that in 2026, you'll pay no more than $12.65 for a brand name drug and $5.10 for a generic. How much is all of that worth? Social Security itself estimates the average value of Extra Help at about $5,700 a year per person. Let me say that again because it's the most important number in this whole video. $5,700 a year for help paying for the medicine you already need. And there's more to it now. Thanks to a recent change in the law, prescription drug costs under Medicare are limited for everyone. Once your out-of-pocket spending on covered drugs hits $2,100 in a year, you pay nothing for the rest of that year. For someone on costly medicines, that limit alone can be the difference between a year you can handle and a scary one. And this is the quiet part. The National Council on Aging estimates that roughly 2 million seniors who qualify for extra help have never signed up, giving up billions of dollars in help every year. Not because they were turned down, because they never applied or never knew it existed. Let me give you the lines so you know whether it's worth applying. For 2026, a single person with income up to about $23,475 a year, and resources, meaning your savings and what you've put away, up to about $18,090, can qualify for extra help. For a married couple, it's roughly $31,725 in income and $36,100 in resources. If you also have full Medicaid, your copay can drop to about $4.90 per drug. And if you qualify but haven't picked a drug plan yet, a bridge program called Linet can cover your prescriptions in the meantime, so you're not stuck paying full price while the paperwork catches up. If your income lands a little above those numbers, apply anyway. The rules don't count everything, and you can apply again anytime things change for you. To get it, you apply through Social Security, online, or at your local Social Security office. And remember what I said a minute ago. If you got into one of those Medicare savings programs for your Part B premium, you may already be signed up for this one without doing a thing. The two go hand in hand. So let's pull this together because the pattern matters as much as the list. Property tax relief, the income tax break for seniors, the lifeline discount on your phone and internet, the Medicare savings programs that pay your Part B premium, and extra help for your prescriptions. 5 separate bills run by 5 different offices with one thing in common. Every one of them was created by law, sitting fully paid for, waiting, and every one of them needs you to raise your hand. For a senior who qualifies for the income-based programs, these don't just add up to $3,000 a year, they blow well past it. The Part B premium alone is nearly $2,435. Extra help is worth about $5,700 more. Add property tax relief on top, and you're talking about real money every single year for the rest of your life. Picture it with one person, a 72-year-old living on Social Security in a paid-off home. The senior freeze holds her property tax flat instead of climbing year after year. The Medicare Savings Program stops that $2,434 premium from leaving her check. Extra help takes her prescriptions down to a few dollars each, worth around $5,700 a year. She didn't change her income, her house, or her doctor. She filled out 3 applications. That's the whole difference. And these 5 are only the start. There's also help with your heating bill and help buying groceries, sitting in the same place, behind the same kind of application. Now, you do not have to chase all of this piece by piece, and you shouldn't try to remember a dozen offices. There are 2 doors that lead to most of it. The first is a free tool called Benefits Checkup from the National Council on Aging. You answer a few questions, honestly, and it tells you which programs you likely qualify for and how to apply, all in one place. The second is your State Health Insurance Assistance Program, usually called SHIP. Every state has one. They offer free, honest Medicare help with no salesman and no sales pitch, and they can walk you through these programs one by one. One quick tip: don't wait for one approval before starting the next. You can apply for several of these at the same time, and getting approved for one often opens the door to others. And let me clear up the one thing that stops people more than any other. Folks see the words limited income or limited resources and think the door is shut. It usually isn't. For most of these programs, your home doesn't count against you. Your car doesn't count. A burial plot doesn't count. Many states ignore a big share of your Social Security when they total up your income. So the people who lose out are rarely the ones who wouldn't have qualified. They're the ones who decided not to check. Here's what I want you to take away, and it's bigger than any single form. The breaks on this list are real, and the money is yours. But the system was quietly built on one bet that most people won't ask, and most people don't. That's not an accident, and it's not your fault. It's just how the machine runs. The people who keep more of their own money aren't smarter or richer than their neighbors. They simply found out, and they raised their hand. So this week, pick one, just one. Call your county about the property tax, or sit down with benefits checkup, or walk into your Social Security office and ask about the Medicare savings programs. One phone call can be worth more than a month of Social Security. The law already did its part. The only thing left is for you to claim what it set aside. If this helped, leave a comment and tell me which of the 5 surprised you the most, because it tells me what to cover next. Subscribe if you haven't. Share this with someone over 65 who could use a few $1,000s back, and I'll see you in the next one.